Hello, my friends. Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa String Works workshop. And Dottie, you already stole my thunder. She says, how about another squirrel chirping tune? I was going to start off with, I thought I feel like chirping a little bit. But you stole my thunder. It can happen any moment without reason or rhyme. It might be right around the corner, or it will come up from behind. The picture that I thought would fade, but I still clearly see. And that's when the thought of you catches up with me. It can happen on the Sunday drive, sky above a shade of blue, driving down some lonesome highway, and then you come into view. And mile after mile goes by, and you were all I see. And that's when the thought of you catches up with me. When the thought of you comes into my mind, it will carry me away to a better place in time. It can happen in the dead of the night, or any day of the week. Sometimes you'll come and find me when I'm in bed asleep. Then I'll have that dream about you. Oh, I love what I see. And that's when the thought of you catches up with me. That's when the thought of you catches up with me. Oh, the thought of you is caught up with me. Chirp, chirp. I better. Well, take that, Renee. Bill Mumbo was, no, he wasn't the first one. Dottie Hildebrandt was the first one today. Oh my gosh, he must be slipping. Where's he at? There's Rod Wentler. Man, he's fourth this morning. Oh, Rod, you should hang your head in shame. That's funny. Well, let's see. Before we get into the comments and things, and it looks like we have a ton of them. I've never seen this many before we went live. I'm sure I've never seen that many. And we got a few after we went live, probably telling me to shut up. 96 viewers so far. Well, the good news and the bad news on the subscriber count is 104,083. So 104,083 people, subscribers. And the bad news of that is that JR caught me. My son, his channel he's got 104,000 now too. I'm not sure how far ahead of me he is, but I'm pretty sure he's already passed me up. And I'm growing at a rate of 908 subscribers per month at the moment, according to YouTube. So at least I beat him to the 100,000, because I would have never heard the end of it, I promise you, had that not happened. You just don't know that boy. He never lets anything like that ever die. So thank you for helping me at least do that. I knew he'd pass me up eventually. That part, that was a no-brainer. I knew that before he ever started the channel because of the subject matter, for the one thing. But anyway, last night we had an event. We had a power outage. This was at least the first time that I can remember in a long, long, long time where the power went off, came back on, went off, came back on, went off. It did that like 5 times in a row, and within about a minute's span. And I thought, wow, that's weird. And so I started turning off things that I could turn off, you know. And sure enough, it stayed off. And fortunately, the outside temperatures were in the 40s last night, which is wonderful. So if you're going to have a power outage, that's the perfect time. So, you know, it stayed off for a few hours. I went ahead and went to sleep because it was 10:30 when that happened. And I'm not sure exactly what time it came back on, but the house was getting chilly about that time. And it didn't take long to warm back up, though, with that wood furnace. And just so you know, when the power goes out, the wood furnace, I mean, it continues to sort of burn wood, but the solenoid closes the door because there's no electric. The electric keeps the solenoid door open when the fire needs to burn. But when the electric goes off, the solenoid closes the door, so the fire is eventually smothered out. I mean, it doesn't ever smother it completely out. I mean, you'd have to wait 2 or 3 days for it to go completely out. But it smothers it to the point where you're not really wasting firewood during the time where there's no electric. Anyway, it kicked back on and everything was fine. And I'm absolutely amazed that that the internet and everything else was working this morning. It's like, count my blessings. Yeah, so. In other news, Dicky's Barbecue Pit, you know, is over the past several years, we've been doing it every Tuesday evening. Well, that's changing now, and we will only be at Dicky's Barbecue Pit on the first and third Tuesdays of the month. So the next time we'll be there will be the first Tuesday in February. So come join us if you can, but just know that it's only on the first and third Tuesdays of the month. Guitar status. I've been showing you the guitar status here. I decided to try to fix some of this bad area here. You can see with the overspray and stuff. I did sand this down some, but it was going to be a lot of work to sand it completely down. What I really am trying to do is just protect the bare wood. That's mainly what I'm trying to do. Now I'm going to sand this off some and smooth it out some and put some more coats on it and stuff, and it'll look better each time I do that. It's kind of at the ugly duckling stage at the moment. But while I'm doing that, I'm also putting extra finish over this area that had busted too. And this will all get buffed out and it'll all look pretty uniform at the end. But this is not going to look perfect right here because I'm not trying to go that deep, but at least it'll look a lot better than those big, what looked like belt buckle rash, but it wasn't. It was just from sweating, and the finish was thin, and the finish just flaked off. So anyway, that's the status of that. My plans for today are to go cut a bunch of firewood. It's really nasty out there. The temperatures are great, but the weather's just really bad. It's just drizzly rain, just solid. Everything's soaked down. Again, it's not raining hard enough to really hardly matter, but it's got the top couple inches of the dirt nice and wet, which is good. Don't get me wrong, it's great, but it doesn't make it for the best for hauling big loads of firewood. Fortunately, though, this is in an area down there where I can just mostly stay on the road and it won't be a big deal, other than just me getting all wet and muddy. But I'll get it done. I'm going to try to haul a full trailer load today. I've got 2 little short videos for you, and these I thought I'd just film. This is the kind of stuff that happens pretty much every day around here. I mean, you know, there are days where I don't do this, but I'd say more days where I am fixing little stuff like this than not. And so here's the first of 2. Take a look. Just thought I'd share with you like just a few moments of my life. I do these kinds of things daily. It's like not every single day, but you'd think it was. So I'm always fixing something. And in this case, it's I don't know, what do you call this thing? A boot, I don't know, a boot horse or something, or boot lath. I don't know what you call this thing. Anyway, it's for taking boots on and off. Taking them off, I guess you'd say. And she doesn't want nails or these staples anymore. She wants screws, and I guess we'll do that. If I can get the staples out. Okay, that's what they were right there. Okay, so we got to make a new piece and put some screws in it, and probably a little glue too, wouldn't hurt nothing. Over the years, I've learned that about 15 degrees is good for a lot of these things, and I'm slightly over that. I'm about 16 degrees according to this little angle finder. I'll take that. I think the boots won't care. Now we just need to get some holes drilled in this. I think I'll just eyeball square it up like this. Take a pencil, draw a line along there and a line along here. And the thing is that they need to go through at an angle like that, a 15-degree angle that way. In fact, I guess the best way is just to take this over to the drill press and drill it like that. That's what I'll do. I'll just drill it like that. Well, it slides around a lot, so you know what I think I'm going to do? And I'm just going to cure that with some CA glue. Then I can drill the holes and put the screws in it, and it won't be such an issue. That ought to fix that. Looks good to me. Well, we drilled that with a pilot bit and a countersink all built into one, so this should go in there with no problem, I would think. There you go. All we really need to do is put that back down. And, you know, I know it didn't cover it. I decided to move it a little bit. That's not a problem. I don't care that it's not covered. But, you know, I could use staples, but why not? Why bother, you know? Just use the good old CA glue. Pretty sure it'll work just fine. Or maybe not. All right, let's try it this way. I'll put the accelerant up there. I'll put the CA glue here, and I'm pretty sure that'll do it. That seemed to get her done. And it looks like there's a spot here that could use a little touch up, so why not? It may not be pretty, but it's as good as new. Yeah, and I know it's called a bootjack, by the way. You know, you know me and words. The words just don't come to me sometimes. But yeah, I know it's a bootjack. So you don't have to tell me, even though probably somebody already has by now. But that's okay. It's all right. The next thing, I know what this is called. This is called a wall wart. Take a look. Well, here's another moment in my life that I need to see if I can do something with this. This is a little wall wart transformer thing for one of my wife's grow plants. Now, I have already given her a fix. I found another one of these with a similar rating. Actually, this one's rated at 12 volts, 3 amps. The one I found was 12 volts, 2 amps, but it worked, and her light is working. And, you know, my concern is that the 2 amps, you know, it might burn out. So I figure I might as well see if I can find the root problem of this one. These had pulled out, and this had all broken, and you can see that I stuck them back in there and CA glued it. Now in hindsight, I should have stuck them in there, tested it before I CA glued it. But I already CA glued it, nothing I can do about that now. So what I think I'm gonna do is cut this loose around here and see if I can see where the real problem is. I'm just going to bust it open now. That ought to give me something. There you go. That's what she looks like on the inside. I think it's just glued in there, so I'm going to see if I can't cut the glue. Yep, that was it. It was just glued in there. You know, I think this is my problem right here. I don't think this was closed enough. I think that's the only problem. I think that's the only problem, honestly. So I'm just going to poke this together. I've turned the switch off on my plug here, so I can plug this in without holding on to it. I mean, without too much fear of electrical damage. And now I can turn on my switch, and if I don't see any smoke or fire, and I don't see any smoke or fire, so now I can test the end of this and see if that's fixed. I'm going to poke this one in there and then poke this in here, and hopefully you'll see 12 volts come up on this meter. Whoops. 12 volts exactly. Success. We'll call that a win. All right, I'll turn off my switch, unplug this monster here. Like I said, I think that was the only problem. It was just those clips there had gotten loose. That looks good enough to me. I think I'll just use some of this canopy glue if I can find it, because this will take a while to dry, and it glues plastic and wood together, so I think it'll do okay on this foam rubber as well, if it will come out. There it is. I always like to hold it for 10 seconds or so before I spritz it, because that generally keeps it from turning white. Well, now that it's kind of protected, I'll plug it back in and test it one more time. Now we'll test and see if it's still working. And turn this up here where you guys can see it. Or I think you can see it. I'll put this under there, maybe you can see it. Now tell me, is it hitting 12 volts? Yes, it is. Awesome. These are just some of the things I do when I'm not on camera. Not on camera, usually. That time I was on camera. But anyway, those are just two of the little projects that I do. You know, I mean, there's stuff like that every day around here. It's amazing. It really is amazing how many things break and need fixing. And yeah, and the grandkids all at their homes are always saying, just take it to Grandpa. They're constantly saying that. Well, anyway, that's the name of that tune. Now, I'm going to probably release both of those as short videos. You don't have to watch them again. I'm just throwing things against the wall to see what sticks, you know, and that's pretty much it. And so I'll release them in their own right under little separate titles. And like I said, you don't have to be bothered by that, and you don't have to watch it. If you do want to watch it, that's perfectly okay too. Moving up to the comments section here, let's see who was first. Dottie Hildebrandt was the first one this morning. Good morning, everyone. Have a blessed day. And then there's Dave Hunt and Carolyn Fike. Dottie and Dave, how are the primo members of the Jerry's family? That's funny. Guy Bros has a question there. It says, Jerry, the average dew point here in Tampa is 86 degrees. I built 4 guitar cabinet and keep humidity at 43%. Your thoughts? And if you're up to it, how about a Merle song on a guitar? Well, that's I think anytime you keep your humidity in the acceptable range, that's a good thing for your instrument. I've said before, and I'll say again, that they will change from season to season. It's going to happen every year, no matter what you do. It's just going to happen. That's why I say keep them in the area you're comfortable. As long as you do that, 99 times out of 100, you're going to be fine. There are, and again, I can't emphasize enough that extremes are bad in any situation. Extreme heat, extreme sunlight, extreme, air blowing on it, extreme dampness, extreme dryness. Anything extreme is not good, period. Just keep that in mind. But I think what you're doing there is really good. I've always told the band never refuse a request. Now, don't everybody make a request, because I can't meet them all. But oh, the love you promised to be mine forever, I would have bet my bottom dollar on. Well, it sure turned out to be a short forever. For just once I turned my back and you were gone. And from now on, all my friends are gonna be strangers. I'm all through ever trusting anyone. The only thing I can count on now are my fingers. I was a fool believing in you now that you're gone. It amazes me not knowing any better than to think I'd find a love that could be true. Well, I should be taken out tarred and feathered when I let myself be taken in by you. And from now on, all my friends are gonna be strangers. I'm all through ever trusting anyone. The only thing I can count on now are my fingers. I was a fool believing in you, now you are gone. Yes, I was a fool believing in you, now you are gone. He named his band The Strangers, and he named them after that song there. That was, I think, his first, I don't know if that was his first number one or first charted song or just what, but it was one of his very, very first big hits. And I don't think he wrote that. I used to think he wrote that song, but I think now that, I can't remember the gal's name, it was a country gal that wrote the song, I think, and he recorded it. At least that's the way I remember it. But I used to think he wrote that, but I don't think he did. But anyway, thanks for the request, and hope that was good enough chirping. Rod Wentler's there. He says, good morning, friends, neighbors, and squirrels from Berkeley. Yeah. Bill Mumbo's there. Dottie Hildebrandt there again. Let's see. And there's where Dottie's asking for her churl squirping song, or I can't even say that now. I said it backwards. Squirrel chirping song, not. Oh well, forget it. Carolyn Fike, yes, Dottie, much better than a few days ago in the teens here in Greer, South Carolina. Then there's Paul Walton. Good morning from Central Florida. Can you play the squirrel chirping version of Hickory Wind? Well, I don't know if I should try to do all these requests, but I appreciate it. I love that song. That's one of my favorite songs. I'm going to do that on here because I'm not that great on a guitar, and it's not that this is hard to play. It's easy to play, but I'm afraid I'll just mess up the chords. It's not even hard chords. In South Carolina, many tall pines. I remember the oak tree that we used to climb. Wherever I want you, I always pretend that I'm getting the feel, the hickory wind. I started out younger, had most everything, all the riches and pleasures. What else could life bring? But it makes me feel better each time it begins, calling me home to the hickory wind. It's a hard thing to find out. The trouble is real. In a faraway city with a faraway feel, but it makes me feel better each time it begins, calling me home to the hickory wind. And now when I'm lonesome, I always pretend that I'm getting the feel of the hickory wind. Well, a little rusty on that one, but I tried. But thanks for the request. I think that'll be the last one I do during this one. But when you ask for that kind of song, I can't hardly pass it up. I love that song. It's a great tune. Let's see. Papa Tom says, "Do you know how to tell if the stage is level?" The drummer, yeah, I've heard this one. The drummer drools out of both sides of his mouth. We would change that to the banjo player. Banjo guys, they always get knocked on their jokes. Dottie Hillebrand, she's talking to Caroline again. And then moving on down, let's see. Dottie Hill says, "Of course I would get the lessons from Jerry Rosa." Oh, okay, so they must be talking about mandolin. So they're talking back and forth there about playing the mandolin. Let's see. And Rod's popping in there with a squirrel comment. Let's see. Moving on down, I'm just looking for mainly questions and comments here. A lot of people on here today, so thank you. Right now, 159 it says. There's Bo Horn again. All right, after we went live, looks like DE says, "Good morning from Alberta, Canada. Much warmer here." Yeah, it's really nice here right now, temperature-wise anyway. And Dottie says, "You sure make them squirrels proud." Yeah, that's probably the only thing I make proud. Robert Harris from Farmington, Missouri. Yeah, I've spent a lot of time down there at the auction barn. We've played in a number of shows down there in the auction barn over the years. And before that, my parents would drag me down there to the Farmington auction barn, and we would go to the horse auctions and the saddle auctions and the different things they had down there. There was a lot of auctions that they had, and we used to go down there all the time when I was just a kid. I haven't been down there in quite a long time. Robert Harris, someone made a comment about a squirrel song. You should write one. I don't know if I'll do that or not. Bruce Ducker says, if you look like a big hairy draft horse, you'd probably have more subs. Yeah, I knew that right away. And then of course, well, I don't know if I should say this or not, but it's the truth. I don't like to lie about anything. Prior to Oliver, I don't think he had any rescue horses. I don't think he did. But he's rescued several since Oliver. And Oliver, if you guys don't know, Oliver was a big Clydesdale draft horse. And those of you that are new, he was on the edge of death. He would have lasted at the outside edge 2 weeks, probably more like a week. I don't think JR wanted this out necessarily public, but he's also rescued a couple of ponies and things, and one of the ponies is doing fine. Unfortunately, one of the ponies was so bad when he picked it up that it died on the way home. I mean, it was that bad. So I don't know that he ever talked about that on his channel, and I'm sorry, I shouldn't bring that up. Please don't go back and asking him about it, because he'll just get mad at me. But anyway, the point is, there's people out there that do not know and have no business having horses or any kind of animals. They just don't take care of them. While I've said a gazillion times, and I'm not talking out of both sides of my mouth, I am not an animal person. I'm not a domestic animal person. I just don't get into it. I was raised with it crammed down my throat, and I was more like I couldn't wait to get away from it, to be honest with you. And so, but that doesn't mean I hate them. And what it definitely means, I know how to take care of them, and and they deserve to be taken care of. Anybody that abuses any kind of animal like that by not feeding them, you wouldn't want to know what I do to them. Seriously, you wouldn't want to know. Anyway, moving on down. Bill Rhodes, he's from Warrenton, Missouri, and Warrenton is up by Highway 70, up that direction, I think. Anyway, that's where my buddy Josh Poor lives, that plays the dobro. Let's see. MFC, JR only passed you with subscriber total because he has animals. Yeah, well, that's why I say I knew he would pass me on day one. I mean, before he ever started it. In fact, I'm the one that told him to start it. I said, man, you're crazy not starting a YouTube channel with all those animals you got, horses and everything. I said, it'll be a major hit. You'll pass me up in no time. I told him that from before he started. And I knew he would. There's no doubt about it. Fred Martin says, bootjack. Yep, I knew somebody would chime in there, because, I know the name of that. We've used them my whole life. I just, there's just times when words will not come to me no matter what. And that's the sad thing, like I've told you a gazillion times. The worst thing I do on stage is have to introduce my band. Oh, I dread it. I absolutely dread it. I hate it so much, because I can be looking right at them and the name will not come. And sure, I know their name. I just can't, it won't come to the front of my brain, It's crazy. It's just the way it is. And again, it's not an old man thing. It's been that way my whole life. It's always been like that. Any status on the dump truck? Well, Chip, no, it's just taking the back burner, because for one thing, it's really hard to do right now. I've got to lift that bed back up on the truck, and it's going to be difficult. It's going to take at least 2 Bobcats probably to lift it back up on there, because it's one of them counter offset things that's you're just going to have to be on both sides of it to pick it up. It's just So anyway, it's going to be a while, but I have a feeling it'll wait till after I'm done with the water wheel project, and I will be getting back on that before too terribly long. But it's probably not going to be much action until it warms up some in spring and dries up a little bit, because I got to get a lot of lumber cut and hopefully let the lumber dry a month or so too. Anyway, moving on down, I see a lot of names there. Bill Webb, better late than not at all. I'm here now. Let the hijinks and rants continue. Yeah, Larry Fisher saying you got to save your antlers for Caleb. Yep, I'm sure that Caleb will be welcome to them down the road here. You got to find a bunch of them first. Bill Webb, I'm late tuning in because I got up this morning and the rain has let up and it's about 46, so I suited up and ran 1.6 miles. You run? I didn't know you ran. That's quite a jog right there. David Tharp, Jerry, whenever I want to sing in church, I'll say something like, I've had a request, but I'm going to sing anyway. Yeah, we use that line too sometimes. Olav says, the second song was more suitable to your voice, don't you think? Well, maybe so. I don't know. Michael Ragusa from New Rochelle, rain here all day. Backstory family history. Reading about the Ozark Opry. Did you go there or play there back in the day? No, I knew about it, I guess. I'm thinking my buddy Craig Kirk, who was, I told you, my best friend growing up, and he started playing fiddle. I'm pretty sure he's played there a number of times. He also played fiddle for Lee Mace Opry. I don't know if that's the same Opry or not. It probably isn't. But he played for the Lee Mace Opry is the one I think he played for. Didn't Ray Stevens write a song about a squirrel getting loose in a church? Yes, he sure did. Yeah, that's a funny song. It's really funny. In fact, Gina Huizinga, the smiling fiddle girl that you've seen on the channel, she does that song, which just amazes me that she does that. Barry Cook says he was jamming along with Hickory Wind with the fiddle. We sounded pretty good, he said. It's a good thing you're playing the fiddle, because if I was playing the fiddle, we wouldn't sound too good. DE, when I have animals in my care, if I can't afford food for them, I would go without before my pets do. I would ensure they got a good home. Yeah, I don't take it to extremes like PETA. I'm not a PETA fan either. But by God, if you got an animal, feed it. Don't put it in some kind of pen and not feed it. I mean, that's just absolutely. That's what the Nazis did. That's what they did to the Jewish people. They put them in a camp and they didn't feed them. I mean, and they worked them to death on top of it. It's just the same thing. You just don't do that. Dottie says, have you ever played at Frontier Ranch in Pataska, Oklahoma? Honestly, I haven't played much east of here. I've played in Illinois. I'm trying to think if I've played any other state. Not really, other than just a little bit of jamming down in Nashville. Other than that, not much. West of here a little bit too. Now, really not that much west either. Dodge City, Kansas, the furthest west I've ever played also. Simon Jardine, hello from soaking wet Scotland. We have our first sunshine in days, flooding everywhere. Not a good scenario. Wow. Yeah, Robert Harris says Mississippi Squirrel Revival. I think that's the name of that song. Yeah, I think that's right. I know it sounds something like that. Chuck Highbreder says Lee Mace and the Ozark Opry are one in the same. Okay, that's probably how I kind of heard about that then, or knew about it. But anyway, I'm pretty sure my buddy Craig Kirk played with Lee Mace for a while, and he played, like I said, he even played with Mel Tillis for a short while. I don't know how long he played with Mel. Larry Fisher, people for the eating of tasty animals. Yeah, PETA. Yeah, well, I'm a hunter too. Having said that, you may think that sounds totally contradictory. I don't think so. I'm a meat eater. I can't help that. I was born that way. And any of you guys that are skeptical about that, I've taken tests. I have been proved to be what they call a taster, and I can taste things that you cannot taste. And that's black and white. That's not a maybe or it's in my head type thing. That's black and white. I have way more taste buds than the average tongue. I don't remember the numbers. I'd be making it up. But say you guys have 1,000 taste buds. Well, I have like 12,000 taste buds. I mean, it's like that. It's much more incredible. And because of that, I taste chlorophyll in plants. And if you could taste chlorophyll in plants, I promise you wouldn't eat them. I promise you wouldn't eat them. There's no way you can go, oh, I'd man up and eat them anyway. No, you wouldn't, because it'd be like saying you could man up and drink gasoline, because it's the same kind of thing. It's a chemical, and it tastes like heck. I cannot imagine eating that stuff. In fact, I'm not kidding you. It's really tough for me to sit across from somebody eating something that, especially when it smells a lot, and because I have extrasensory taste, I would say at least above average smell when I can breathe through my nose, that's the other problem. I don't breathe through my nose very well. But when I can breathe through my nose, I can smell really well. And when I'm sitting across the table from somebody eating things like onions and I don't know, just smelly salad type stuff, this is just about all I can do to sit there. I'm not kidding you. It's bad. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, and unfortunately, my grandson Trinian got it. And, it was obvious he got it because, it started at birth with me. My mom said she would sit up and cry all night because she couldn't find anything I would eat. I would spit out everything they put in my mouth. The only thing they could get me to eat was milk and mashed potatoes until I got teeth, and then I started eating meat, And that's kind of the way Trinian was too. Trinian's almost worse than me. I mean, he won't even try anything. Trinian's really bad. He's way worse than me, honestly. So, and I'm really sad about that. I wish I try to get him to trust me, because I said, well, Trinian, you're just like me, buddy. You need to, if I say this is good, you'll like it, and usually if I can get him to do it, he does like it, but it's really hard to get him to try anything, which is really sad. Because, it's not that I wouldn't try stuff, but I have like a photographic memory of taste. And once I've tried it and I don't like it, there is no point in me trying it again, because I know I won't like it, And I can even taste the things that I've tasted 50 years ago. I can taste them right now and tell you what they taste like. That's how sensitive my taste is. and how good the memory is on the taste. So eating tasty animals, I get that, PETA, and that's kind of the way I feel about it. But then again, like I said, I don't want it to sound like I'm talking out both sides of my mouth. I said, you don't torture animals. Well, that's the same way I feel about when I'm hunting them. I want to make my shot count, and I want to see them hit the ground. I don't want to see them run off. And to this day, I can honestly say, out of the, I don't know how many dozens and dozens of deer I've taken and things, I've only hit one of them in a less than desirable spot. All the rest of them have pretty much just hit the ground. One deer was walking really fast. I had my bow and I shot through a hole, and he got through the hole faster than I thought. I hit him through the guts. I did recover him. I did eat him later, but that was the only one that kind of ran off, if you will. But I've always made really good shots on the animals, and I think that came from being a competitive archer. I got to where I could aim really good, and hit what I'm aiming at. And so, and with a gun, it's even easier to do, if you will. Once you've learned how to do that at 100 yards with a bow and arrow, shooting a gun at 50 yards, it's pretty simple, really. Anyway, enough on that. But I just want to let you know that I want to make a clean kill, and I want them to just more or less hit the ground. They don't even know what hit them, and that's the way it should be done. Let's see. Jeff Puris, I'm one of those folks who cilantro tastes like soap. Well, I've heard of cilantro, but honestly, I probably have never tried it. If it's got green stuff in it, there would be no reason for me to try it. There's just no reason. Bill Webb, I love cilantro. Get the dried cilantro, not as strong and lasts longer. Okay, never heard of it. I mean, I've heard of cilantro, but I do not know what it is. Bananas do that to me. The smell alone makes me want to vomit. Yeah, I'm not. And that's the weird thing. And this is more of a picky thing. I'll be honest. It's fruit. I don't eat any raw fruit. Zero, none. I don't eat an apple. I don't eat a banana. I don't eat anything. But dried or cooked, I can eat them all. And I like them dried and cooked. And so I eat fruits that way. But I do not eat them plain. And I don't know why that is, but I just can't. I don't like them at all plain. Larry says, I hate Brussels sprouts. Well, I'm right there with you on that one. Dottie Hildebrand, I'll bet you count on one hand the things you eat. Yeah, it's kind of true. I can tell you quicker what I eat than what I don't eat. That's true. But basically, I eat meat and the starch vegetables and nuts and cooked fruits and cereals and grains. Most anything like that is fine. Breads, that kind of stuff. My wife just sums it up and says if you can't taste it or if it tastes like cardboard, he likes it. Pretty much is the truth. It's kind of true, unfortunately. Let's see. Homestead horsemanship grapes. I'm not sure about that one. I don't know what you mean there. Oh, JR says grapes. I don't eat them raw. I don't eat grapes raw. Trying to think, do I even eat them at all? Grapes is one of the things I probably don't eat unless they're dried as raisins. Yeah, I'll eat raisins. They're okay, but I don't eat grapes. Backstory family history. Aversion to cilantro is a genetic thing. Same for aversion to broccoli and others as well. Well, it may be. I don't know about that end of the taste thing, but I do know. You'll not this much of a piece of lettuce has ever really made it down the pipes. It goes in my mouth and it's like, oh my God, I got to get that out right now. It's like horrible. And you'd think, and most people say lettuce don't have any taste. Well, you should just try tasting it with my taste buds and you'd go, oh, that's a little different. I didn't know it tasted like that. Can I eat apple pie? I love apple pie. Like I said, almost any pie, fruit type pie cooked up, I like it. Yeah, and it's probably because it's got sugar. Like I said, I eat the three main food groups: sugar, salt, and preservatives. If it's got that in it, I'm all good to go. Yeah. DE, I suffer from migraines, and just the smell of some foods will trigger a migraine. Yeah, I don't doubt that either. David Thar says, I ate like a horse this morning, had oats for breakfast. I can eat oats. I'm not overly crazy about like oatmeal. You know, even when it's sweetened up, oatmeal, I don't know. I can eat it if I had to. If I was starving, I could eat that. But it don't do it for me. I don't really care for oatmeal for some reason. And you know what's odd about that is that a good friend of mine that passed away, and you know me and names. Here we go. Well, he was probably the biggest name bluegrasser in this whole area, and I can't think of his name right now. It's just so sad. He had a 1954 Martin guitar. Anyway, that's what he ate every single morning for breakfast. Every single morning in his whole life. He said he never ate anything else. He ate oatmeal for breakfast. And his wife goes, yep, that's it. That's all he eats. He won't eat anything else for breakfast. I thought that was kind of unusual. Well, anyway, that's going to be it, guys. 174 viewers at the moment. Thank you for being kind to me and putting up with my squirrelness today. I appreciate the requests, and we will get out there and get some firewood cut, and I will see you tomorrow with something else. Thanks a lot.